Hello, and welcome to another episode of Zodcast. I'm so glad you guys are with me today. I hope everyone's doing well and everything's going fine in this crazy, chaotic world that we currently live in. It's been a while since I've done the last podcast, and for the sake of full transparency, let me explain why. Since I got home from the hospital a couple weeks ago, I don't know, I guess I hit a point where I needed to regroup. It's okay sometimes to take a little time for yourself and redefine yourself. And I mentioned this before, but when you're in the hospital, it's a whole different kind of mentality that you find yourself under. You got people coming in at all times of the night and day, poking you and prodding you and this and that, and it does take a toll after a while. And I've found that each time I've had to come back, each time that I've been lucky enough to come back home after being in the hospital, there's a certain transition that you go through to go from hospital life to, your normal life. And I guess the last couple weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, I've been in that kind of frame of mind. My inspiration has been up and down, to say the least. And I just kind of had to, get off the grid for a little while and refine myself a little bit. Now, another reason for my absence has been due to the fact that I'm a pot smoker too, and, sometimes the motivation factor just isn't there. So, that's kind of what I've been going through the last few weeks, and which is why I haven't posted anything, because I didn't have any real substance to throw out there. And then it dawned on me, like, you know what? Whatever you're going through is substance, and it, don't hold it inside. I have this bad tendency of holding things inside, and sometimes it's a little bit more cathartic if you let them out and you share them, because you never know who's going to be going through the same thing. And something that you're struggling with, or that I'm struggling with, might help you get through what you might be struggling with, if that makes sense. So, there it is. That's why I haven't been around lately. But I'm slowly getting the creativity back. And, another reason why I am the way I am is that my creativity flows in like a multi-level, 3-dimensional space. I love audio stuff, which is why I started a podcast. And I'm also heavily involved in graphic design and creative elements such as that. 3D modeling is another outlet where I express my creativity. So sometimes when you have your fingers in all different, like multiple cookie jars of creativity, sometimes your brain is like, okay, I'm inspired, but what medium should I use? And you go round and round with yourself in your head, or at least I do. And I'm like, ooh, would this idea look better if I talked about it on the podcast? Or would it be better if I tried to create it through graphics or 3D modeling? That sort of thing. So, the best way I can describe it is I'm a Renaissance man. I'm a man of many talents. And humbly so. I'm not arrogant about it, but it's what I love. It's my passion. But sometimes it's hard to really pinpoint and zoom in and focus in on what medium of creativity I'd like to use from one day to another to express myself. So this episode is going to be a little bit kind of scattered and random because it has been a couple weeks and I haven't really been able to vent about multiple subjects. But before I do, I don't normally do shout-outs on this show, but I have been trying for the last couple months to get a new wheelchair, and because my old one is way outdated and needs to be retired. Usually a wheelchair lasts about 5 years, and the one I'm currently in I've had for 8, so it's high time for a new one. And I found a company out here near Seattle that I thought was just going to be your average wheelchair distribution company, and boy have I been completely blown away. There is a company out here near Seattle called American Seating and Mobility, and wow, I've been through many wheelchair companies before, and I haven't even received my new chair that they are providing to me yet, but their customer service has been unfreaking believable. Give you an idea of what I'm talking about. About a week ago, my existing chair crapped out. It was fine one day, and the next day, it wouldn't hold a charge. We tried everything, nothing worked. So my back was up against the wall a little bit, so I contacted my representative at American Seating and Mobility and told them what the problem was, and they responded with, don't worry, don't panic, we'll try to find some batteries, used batteries that might get you through until your new chair gets here. So it's like, okay, well, chances of that are slim. And then within 2 hours of that email, a van pulls up and delivers used batteries so that I may be able to get to my doctor's appointments and such while I'm waiting for the new chair. Now, that might not seem like much to most people, but that kind of level of customer service is a rarity, and I was just so incredibly impressed with their level of humanitarian substance. I guess that's a crappy description, but they were just phenomenal, and they continue to be. So yeah, if you ever need a reliable wheelchair company that isn't going to screw you over and try to give you a model that you don't want, American Seating and Mobility is the place to go. I kid you not. They're amazing. During my little hiatus also, I came across another podcast that I have to put a shout out for it. I have to promote it because it's really good. If you download the app Dash Radio, that's DASH Dash Radio, there is a program on their 60s channel completely devoted to the Beatles, and they include comedy, and I'm a little biased because the guy who runs the podcast is a good friend of mine. So, full disclosure there, but seriously, folks, this podcast is awesome. I've learned a lot about the Beatles that I never knew. And I love comedians sitting around in the same room and just BSing off each other. You know, the banter back and forth is very inspiring. So, anyway, the Beatles show on the 60s channel on Dash Radio. And Dash is awesome for all kinds of radio stations. Very specific to what you might be looking for. Anyway, hello, and welcome to another edition of Zion Zodcast. I hope everybody has a great rest of their week, and yeah, this weekend should be interesting with regards to politics, but I won't get into that. Anyway, be kind to each other. And just be safe out there. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Zion's Zodcast.